And when you hear that song, you know for sure that it's time for Strong and Sassy. Let me start off by saying a happy new year to you. I hope you've been good. We've missed you. We've been off air for a few weeks, but super, super excited to be back. Good evening and welcome. This is Strong and Sassy here on your superstation, Joy 99.7 FM. My name is Animwaa Anim-Addo, and we're on until 8 o'clock. And yes, we're back for the rest of the year. We have some really exciting conversations and series that we will be doing throughout the year. So put it in your calendar so that you don't miss us. We're on Wednesdays at 7. We're live and interactive on Facebook. So you can always catch up if you miss a show. And we're here to make your lives more complicated. Yeah,
Hopefully.
Hopefully. Tonight I'm joined by Ariel. Ariel is a wellness coach, and we wanted to start off the year talking about your health and wellness. Before we can do anything else, talk about love or relationships or exciting things, you have to be alive to be able to do all of those things. So we thought we'd start off this year with health and wellness. So Ariel, well, first of all, good evening.
Good evening,
And you're welcome.
Thank you.
But it's interesting how at the beginning of the year we have these great health and wellness resolutions. So I decided at the beginning of this year that I'm going to start lifting weights. Haven't found my way
To lift 2.5 years.
to even lift a teacup. But I'm hopeful because January is not over.
At all.
But I find that so many people, there was a survey I think 2 years ago that said that at the beginning of the year, the gym memberships
It's high.
go up.
Mm-hmm.
People have so many resolutions and
Yeah.
stuff. What do you think about that?
The thing is, it's okay to have this inspiration coming up for us at the beginning of a new year. It's a wake-up call that another 365 years is ended and a new year is starting. So it's okay to have all that feeling of I'm going to become my best self, I'm going to improve this and that, I'm going to stop this and all that. It's good to have that. But what it is there's a bigger decision that needs to be made before you even start. And I think the reason why people start and then they can't commit to it is that big decision has actually not been made.
What is the big decision again?
That big decision is that conscious decision to live a successful existence. And that is the whole thing about wellness. It's a decision you have to make first that I'm going to live a particular way that brings me into a successful existence, an existence that is quality of life, that makes me healthy, that I thrive in almost all the areas of my life. And that decision comes with so many things. It comes with taking full responsibility. It comes with understanding yourself, whether people understand you or not. That is giving yourself permission to actually do things the way you know you want to do them. It comes with self-acceptance from where you are, whether you are still not achieved what you want yet, but fully accepting yourself and patting yourself on the back and saying, yes, this is me. I love where I am and I'm going to move forward from here. And then it comes with that place of taking that spiritual stance, knowing that you are still worthy and capable and accepted and loved to move forward to where you want to get to. Yeah. So there's a lot of mental work that has to be done before you even jump to go to the gym. And I think sometimes that full place of intentional decision is not done, and then we take the physical action, and sometimes the inspiration or the motivation we start with doesn't sustain us going forward. So yeah, that is what I think.
So
yeah.
you know how with health, for example, sometimes it's difficult to pay attention to your health as long as you are not unwell.
True.
Sometimes it's difficult to commit to losing weight or going to the gym when you don't have any physical problems that you can see.
Yeah.
So how do you, in the midst of everything that we're dealing with as adults, financial issues, economic issues, social issues, how do you kind of a focus on something that is seemingly not a problem. And we Ghanaians, we're very good at telling ourselves it is well.
Yeah.
So it's like, if it's not a problem, why should I do anything about it before then? When I start doing something about it now, it will reveal problems that exist but don't cause problems.
Yeah. So wellness is actually a choice. And when we say wellness is a choice, we are saying that every choice you're making today is leading you towards a healthy existence or unhealthy existence. So if you look at it from that perspective, what you are choosing now is either going to make you healthy tomorrow or unhealthy tomorrow. So it doesn't matter whether you are unwell now. What you are choosing now is what impacts the tomorrow that you want. So every choice you are making is either taking you to high-level wellness or to premature disease or death, if I should say. So when you are choosing whether you are well now and you decide that, I'm not sick now, so it's okay not to exercise. Once you are not exercising, your body doesn't know that you are well now, that's why you're not doing it. It's still going to invoice you for the lack of what you haven't given it. And so sometime along the line, you'll be given that invoice and you have to pay back. So wellness is being proactive and preventive. Health is being diagnosed and treated for something that has happened. Okay. But wellness is don't sit till it happens before the doctor tells you have to do this and that. Be active and pursuing choices that prevent you from getting unwell. Or getting to a point of being at disease, which means you are not at ease in your body. And it can be physically, it can be mentally, it can be emotionally, it can be socially, it can be spiritually. All the other dimensions of your life, you can be at disease at this area. So every choice you make now impacts the next one. That is why you don't have to wait till the problem comes before you consciously, take steps to do it. Because at the time that the problem or the disease have come, it's more expensive to treat it or to deal with it than now that you have the energy to go for a walk for 30 minutes, why not do it? At the time you've been diagnosed with a stroke, a scare of a stroke, it's even difficult to walk 15 minutes.
Yeah.
So it's about consciously choosing that I'm pursuing to be healthy. And so every choice I make today, it's in order that it's leading me towards that good life that I want to live.
I get that.
It's like that.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense. The difference between health, so being diagnosed and treated, and then wellness being proactive and preventative. Yeah. So, that's a very clear line. So in terms of wellness, what are the major aspects so let's say I was sitting down to make a plan for the year. What are the major aspects or what are the groups that I need to put down, and then we can take each group at a time and then see the action plans for them.
Okay. So there are 8 dimensions that constitutes the whole of our lives. Every area of our lives have these 8 dimensions. And these 8 dimensions are intertwined. And they are all competing for your attention.
Okay.
They don't know whether you are focusing on nutrition now and so you forgot emotion. So all these areas need some balancing.
Okay.
So wellness is all about moderation and balancing the wheel of your life so that you are not tipping to one side and losing balance. So physical well-being,
social well-being,
emotional,
intellectual,
occupational, financial, environmental, and spiritual. These 8 dimensions are intertwined.
Okay.
And the neglect of one affects all.
Okay.
And sometimes the balancing of one also affects some other areas for you to thrive as much as possible.
Okay.
But there are some areas that, like physical and nutrition, if you leave them out and just enhance yourself only on maybe intellectual, you will still be invoiced somewhere along the line. So if you want to assess yourself on these 8 dimensions, you can take a paper, just draw a circle, do this 8 dimension, ask yourself on a scale of 1 to 10, how satisfied I am on these areas of my life.
I think we focus on some more than some.
Yes, that's
a lot of
thing.
Times because we're in survival mode. We're just trying to make it through the day.
Yeah.
Because I'm listening to you and I'm trying to remember the last time that I actively sought out knowledge.
Yeah.
I mean, I Google things a lot of times during the day, but those are like, just something comes up or, your child asks you a question and then
Yeah.
you're Googling.
Yeah.
But actually seeking out knowledge.
Yeah.
And I'm asking myself, okay, why is that so? But it's because I'm so distracted with other things.
areas,
So
yeah.
I think most of us, on top of our priority list, is definitely the
The
financial
financial and occupational.
and occupational,
Busy,
because those
busy,
are
busy.
linked.
They are
I mean,
linked.
those are
Yeah.
linked, because even the occupational, sometimes you're just concerned with the fact that my salary is going to come in, and you're not even as concerned with placing more value on yourself to
Yeah.
increase your,
Your personal development, which is
Exact-
go to the intellectual side.
which then feeds
Yeah.
into the
Yeah.
intellectual.
Yeah.
So yeah. And then obviously social.
Yeah.
I think we're also very relationship focused. But even that one, are we focused on our relationships in terms of making them better or learning how to love better? Or are
yeah.
we just, dreaming up the
and
next
social
drama?
is not only just about relationship, it's about family and friends, including your significant other. And so you don't only thrive on one relationship with one person. You thrive on having supportive family network, supportive friends as well. And then the things you engage in as your social fun and recreation. You can't just work throughout the year and focus on making money when you don't have, you don't go after that desire of a passion or a hobby. Denying yourself that actually comes back to make you feel unfulfilled in some areas of your life. And so socially, we may think about our relationship with maybe a significant other, but all the other things that makes you feel belonging is also part of your social well-being, which is crucial to total wellness. If socially,
Trying to put what you are saying into the everydays.
yeah,
So break it down for me
Sure.
into just the everydays. I mean, you're talking about belonging, and social. Like, most of the time, we're too tired
yeah,
to
so-
socialize. Or,
So
let
let me make it this. Let me bring it to your husband, your wife, and children home. So sometimes we are so busy going after the financial and occupational well-being, so much so that our relationship with our children or our spouses is even not well, because we don't have time. So socially, we are not thriving when it comes to our friends and family.
Okay.
We don't have time to interact with friends. Now, social media has even made it worse. We think
It
once
has.
I've sent hi to my friend, it's an interaction. So we don't even connect physically to meet people until sometimes a funeral or something happens before
Yeah.
we get to see. So those are some of the everyday life. If you're only focused on climbing the occupational ladder, you may climb the ladder, get all the success, but you realize you don't have a strong supportive family network to even enjoy your success with. And so while you are achieving that, there's a need to know that I'm doing this because of these people. And if it's because of them, then the relationship also needs to be balanced. I don't get there before I now look back and say, okay, I'm there, now you people come. That bonding has not been built. So money doesn't solve everything. And so if you want to say it solves everything,
I don't know about that. Money solves a lot of
it
things.
does. It does solve a lot of things. But what we are looking at as in balancing, if you only balance that and you invoice yourself, I mean, sometimes when I use the word invoice,
I
some
like-
of
I
my
love
colleagues
it.
laugh
I
at
love
me,
the
but
phrase.
that is what makes people to get it. I mean, if you only get the money and you invoice yourself on all the other dimensions, you end up spending all the money to solve all this problem. You may get that car and not be healthy enjoying that car. So as much as that is very, very important, the other areas too can't be neglected or, not balanced, so that when the final thing you want comes, you should be able to be there fully to enjoy it. That's why recently I was thinking, when someone says I'm not well, do they mean I'm sick or I'm not well? Because wellness is not just the absence of disease. The fact that you don't have malaria doesn't mean you're well, you know.
Okay.
And so having that car and not fully well in the car doesn't make the car enjoyable anymore, you know. So we need to look at life a bit more holistically than just, as you said, we focus on one thing and we want this, and so that's all we focus on. The other areas also are equally important. If you are not emotionally well, you can't be a good leader. You can't be a good team player
You
at
can't be a
work.
good anything.
Anything, yes. So once you are not debriefing your emotional problems well, once you are not finding ways to distress yourself from things that are toxic in your emotions, you go to work and you are always irritated at your colleagues, which is not healthy. You can't even focus. It affects you productive wise. You can't be productive. It leads to, I mean, some headache along the way with all the stress will lead to now affecting you physically, and on and on and on. So one problem can almost affect all the other dimensions
Yeah.
of your well-being.
Let's talk about emotional wellness
Sure.
for a second. What does that mean? Emotional wellness.
Okay, so when we talk about emotional wellness, we are looking at how you are debriefing your stresses, your emotions, what triggers you, and how you are able to minimize your triggers. I mean, the things that get you into the toxic emotions. When they happen, what do you do? What practices do you do to make sure that you are bringing yourself out of what happened? And maybe, like I said, it could be a relationship issue, but once it happens, it's your responsibility to find ways, practices to balance yourself again. So, is it that you are feeling guilty about something, or you've been hurt and you are sad? What will you do to minimize that impact on your mind and your body? So what do you do? Somebody will say, if I listen to a good music, I would feel better. If I go to swim, or I go for a walk. Somebody will say, if I meditate or if I pray, I feel better. So you need to have practices of finding ways to distract, or let's say a positive outlet. So sometimes you may have an outlet, but also they are not also positive.
I get that.
And
Yeah.
if your outlet, emotional outlets are not positive, then it's also leading to affect your social well-being, because then you are always having toxic, what do I call it, interactions with people, because emotionally you are always at a very bad place. So how do you consciously find ways to give yourself emotional freedom? Let me use the word emotional freedom. And these are things that it's your responsibility to know what works for you.
Yeah.
It's like I threw a stone and it hit you and you get a cut. I'm not the one to heal the cut for you anymore, though I threw the stone. So somebody may hurt you. Somebody may do something that triggers you. It's your responsibility to find, why did this trigger me? What can I do to care for myself with these things that I am feeling? It is your feeling. It is you that is going through it. So what do you do? So when we talk about emotional well-being, we are looking at some of these things.
I want to ask you something. We use the word trigger a lot.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, you're a wellness professional, so it's understandable. But I mean, on social media, or you hear, people, I'm triggered. I'm so triggered. I'm so triggered. Oh my God, this totally triggers me. I'm like, wow, okay. But the question is, what's our triggers? What does it mean when something triggers you, or somebody says, oh, these are my triggers? For some reason, I don't like, personally, I don't like that, the word, because I feel like it is an acceptance. I know that acceptance is a major part of, identifying something and fixing it, but it has almost become like a thing that we have accepted as a part
that
of
I
ourselves.
have it. So be careful, don't rock my boat. Okay, so let's say trigger is your weakness. So if something triggers you, it means it hits a wound that you have. That's why I said the feeling you're having, it's you. Sometimes
Okay, so pause there. So a trigger is something that hits a wound that is already existing
there in your system.
Okay, because I really need people to use
Yes.
it with the word
it's not being used well, but we flow with it.
Okay, so a trigger is something that hits a wound that already
exists.
Okay.
Yeah, already exists. And so it hits a shame that is already there. it hits a fear that is already there, a
And
guilt.
sometimes what is already this is subconscious and
it's
hasn't been
and it
identified.
hasn't been identified, and so that is why becoming self-aware and conscious is helpful in the wellness journey, so you can know, why did this trigger me? What is there? Why did anyone not greeting me made me so like this?
I,
You know.
I do this to myself when I get upset about things. I ask myself the question, like, what exactly is your problem?
Yeah.
What exactly is it that's worrying you? It's one of the most difficult questions
You can answer
you
to
ask.
yourself.
Yeah,
It's true.
because it really means a certain level of honesty that sometimes we
You
don't
don't
want
want
to
to.
do.
I'm glad you are saying it and not me. One of the process in our wellness journey is being very honest with ourselves. And if you don't get to that place of being honest with yourself, you will hide behind the blame
And
thing.
bad behavior.
Yes, blame thing, and you will never face your own self. But the journey to this transformation is first facing your own self before you be able to understand why all these is happening. And so trigger is something that is already there, a wound you have covered up for how long, and so something happens and it hits it and you're like, okay, I don't like this, you did this and it made me feel like this. You felt it
Yeah, but so the question then is, so why did you feel
like that.
like that? Yeah.
And so you have to find why it makes you feel like that, and there are several things, and everybody's own is
It's
different.
different, yeah.
It's different. Yeah, it's different.
All right. So I mean, now that we've sorted out the trigger, the trigger issue, I mean, we can move on to other aspects of emotional wellness. Another phrase that gets thrown around a lot is trauma.
Yeah.
Again, my trauma, my trauma, my. Do you want to talk to us about trauma?
Okay, trauma. We have a few different types of trauma. I mean, we have past trauma, we have current trauma, we have things that are happening immediately that you can call, I was traumatized by this incident and all that. But when people are talking about my trauma, they are talking about past things that might have happened, especially during childhood, that sometimes we are unaware of and we haven't dealt with. So traumas are mostly emotional, toxic over the years or from childhood. I mean, I can do assessments with people and I can find that being abandoned as a child has traumatized them to the extent that they are always trying to fix not being abandoned again. And so trauma can be something that you were dealt with in the past, not because you were not it was intentional, but it was just a process you might have gone through which wasn't loving enough, didn't make you feel safe enough, you didn't feel supported enough, and so you picked some wrong understanding of that process. And so you have had a trauma about it. Now when you grow up, you are trying to avoid that thing not happening again, and so that fear is there, and in avoiding that fear you actually always, I mean, go back to that trauma. Anything happens and you trying to look at it through what happened when you were a child. And like I was saying, if you were brought up in a home that as a child you were made to become an adult, I mean, that's one of the areas I've seen people who became adults when they were young. So they grow up and they are fixing everybody. They are trying to hold everything together, and then they are tired, but they still can't stop.
Yeah.
You know, so when we talk about trauma, it's a whole broad conversation, but it's also become social
Another
media
word, trauma.
and it's used out there. But there are different, it could be something that happened just through, maybe you were driving and something happened and you say, oh wow, the way the car hits the other car, I was
so
traumatized,
yeah.
you know. So it's a word you can use in everyday language, but it also is a psychological word out there.
But you know, the thing that scares me the most about being a parent is traumatizing my children.
Exactly.
Because
it
a
is.
lot of times when you hear people talk about trauma, it's things that happen in
When
their
you were a child.
Exactly. And you hear and sometimes I think that mothers have a really hard task because the emotional well-being of your children is
It's
basically
your
on your shoulders.
responsibility. It's
And
on
so
you.
sometimes you're tired and maybe you're in your room and you've locked the door,
Yeah.
and the children are trying to come in, and you just need some quiet
And
time.
and then they start interpreting it wrongly.
And then 15 years later, they have these rejection
Yeah,
issues
yeah.
because mommy's door was always closed, and you're
Closed.
like, it had nothing to do,
do
with
with
you.
you.
So it's I'm saying this to say that sometimes before we process things into trauma as adults, or when you think that there's some things that you have trauma about, really sit down and think it through the eyes of an adult.
Yeah.
And I think that for me, growing up, there are lots of things I've forgiven my mom for, not because she's apologized or because she's even said I'm
Yeah,
sorry,
yeah.
but because as a mom now, I understand.
That was what she knew.
It's not even that, but I understand the pure and the sheer tiredness.
Yeah.
And realizing that it had nothing to do with me.
With you, yeah.
Yeah. So sometimes,
Like I said, it's some of the things are not intentional. They
Yeah.
don't mean to
they
do
don't
that
mean
to you.
Yeah.
But it has happened, and so the whole thing is about trying to find all these traumas and healing yourself.
Yeah.
Parenting yourself again,
And just,
so
yeah.
you can say it's simply unlearning,
Yeah.
relearning, and keep learning. So some of the things you have learned from your childhood that you have psychologically believed and
Yeah.
become your mindset, how do you now unlearn them?
Yeah, or just think through them
Yeah.
and change the perspective. I love this is also a term that is also quite modern, this parenting yourself.
Yeah, parent yourself
Thing.
again.
Because sometimes you act out, and you can tell that it's the little child
In you.
screaming in pain. And it's nice when you have the adult's perspective and you can kind of talk to yourself and say, you see, that's the thing about having conversations about emotional awareness, is that it's so deep, and it takes so much work.
Yeah, it
that
does. It's work.
It's so easy to say.
I mean, as a coach, Animwaa, I've had first sessions with people, and as soon as they realize the kind of work they have to do, they won't come back for the second
Yeah,
session, because
yeah.
getting that freedom you want and
It's-
living that quality of life takes some work. It takes some undoing of
Yeah.
yourself.
a lot of tears.
And a lot
And
of
almost
and if you are not
sometimes-
ready to go through that's why I said wellness is a decision you have to make. That I'm going to go through this and get that freedom and get that quality of life that I want, and it has nothing to do with anybody else. It's a self-determined
Yeah.
approach to your lifestyle, and once you make that decision, you have to close your eyes. You have to. It's like a turbulence. You won't be smooth,
is.
But if you make that decision and you know where you are going, then you know that this quality of life is what I want.
And it's interesting because when you do the work, you may actually come out on the other side a very different person.
360
completely.
Yeah, 360.
Completely
360 360. You'll be a different person.
So, for
people
example-
will not recognize who you are.
For
It's
example,
true.
and this is just my thing on. I mean, a few years ago, I people always see me, and it seems like I'm a very outspoken, person, kind of all over the place. And then, I spent some time kind of just dealing with a lot of things, that had happened in my life. And I find out that I'm actually a very calm, quiet person. I don't need to be seen. I don't need to be heard. I don't need to be validated. I don't need, I'm happy to.
be
And
you.
so I find recently that a lot of people who knew me from back then, I was like, oh, you're so calm. Oh, you're very quiet. Is something wrong? And I'm like, actually, I'm not. My insides are not buzzing with
Yeah.
needs
Yeah.
all the time. So I don't need
Yeah.
that much attention. I don't need that.
Yeah.
But I'm just saying this to say that, and to encourage our listeners,
Yeah.
that one of the best things you can do for yourself is to
find
do the
yourself.
work.
Do the work. It's true.
Is to do the work.
Yeah.
Especially if you've gone through big things like a divorce, or you've lost a parent, or you've
health
lost a child, or
issues.
health
Yeah.
issues. It's important that after the physical is healed,
You need- do
that
the
you
inner
do
work. The inner work.
that
It's
you
very
do
important.
the.
It's very,
We're
very
advocates
important.
for inner work this
Yeah,
evening.
yes. This evening we're advocating for inner work, and it's so important for all the other things. I mean, once the inner world is balanced and calm, the outer world is much easier to handle
Yeah.
because we live from inside out.
Yeah, we do.
It's not from outside in. And so when you get the inner health well, then the outer health and the outer things too, you get a better perspective of
On
it.
them, and
Yeah.
then you're more equipped to handle
Yes,
them.
to handle them.
So
Yeah.
we're gonna open the phone line soon, but our text lines are opened. It's 055 1111 997 055 We'll be opening the phone line soon. Let me take a few of our messages and then see
Sure.
if there's anything we need to respond to. Taxpayer says this shade is to who it may concern. Holiday no be pension. Welcome back. Wow. I've been trying to be disciplined with what I consume. Fruits or vegetables as breakfast, something heavy for lunch, and vegetables for supper again. But it makes beans. It has beans. Not easy to keep up at all. Most importantly, the prices of fruits and vegetables is a killer. Like today, I was determined to have a banana as lunch, but sipping wine and chewing chicken kept knocking. The devil is a liar.
I
Wow.
like this guy.
I know, right? I Benito Beda from Nungwa says, Happy New Year to us. Happy New Year to you too. Great conversation. As as for coming to complicate our lives, you're on course, yes. Now I'm listening and asking myself a lot of questions which I'm not able to answer anyway. But hopefully I will try and find the balance as time goes on. Well,
Yeah.
self-awareness is fundamentally the first step to kind of fixing anything. Edmond says, my question to your guest speaker is, does one's personality and temperament have influence on the level of concentration or attention that he or she gives to the 8 areas that your guest speaker identified in her presentation? So, Ariel, that's a question for you. How much does temperament and personality play a role in how
in
balanced? Because some of the personalities are naturally unbalanced.
unbalance? Yeah.
Some are. So how much of a role do they play?
It does play a role. You know, we are all different people and all unique people. And whoever you are, wherever you are, you have your own, let me not use the word, you have your own temperaments. Let me use the word, it's temperament or your personality. You can be a sanguine, you can be a melancholic, you can be all that. And once you know your temperament, what you should ask yourself is, how well am I feeling in my life?
Let me ask you a question about temperaments. Do they change?
Yeah, they do. They do. As you're looking at your experiences and becoming more aware, you can transition from one temperament to the other. You can.
Okay.
Because
I hope
once
those
you have
of you
awareness,
those of you texting me to say I'm not calm. I hope you people are listening. That people can change.
yeah, you can. You
Uh-huh.
can. You can move from one temperament to the other with more self-awareness. You can now see, okay, if I act this way, I get this kind of experiences, and so I consciously choose to do
To be a
things this
certain way,
So,
yeah.
so you can gradually shift and move to another temperament. Yeah. So if you see a particular temperament is affecting your balance, it has to be you who can tell how you are feeling or how your life is moving for you. Are you feeling well, thriving, or you're always surviving and struggling? Charlie, as I'm surviving, do you feel like, yeah, I'm on top of my game? I'm feeling life, you know? That is where we want you to be. So if you find yourself not feeling like that, you need to look at yourself. And whatever temperament it is, you can always adjust yourself. If it's like somebody say, I'm trying to eat more vegetables and fruits, is it from health wise? Is it social wise? Is it that you don't have friends, you feel lonely because of your kind of temperament? Then what can you do to move in a little balance? You know, some
Okay.
people's temperament is they don't like to come out to socialize. So if you realize that is affecting you, and by isolating yourself, you're feeling lonely. Loneliness is not the absence of people, it's a state of being. You just feel lonely though there are people around you. So if you find yourself like that, then what steps can you take to balance yourself a bit more so you can be more interactive with people? So it's all about becoming aware of where you are and what you want.
Let
Yeah.
me ask you something. One of our texter said that they had decided that they're going to eat a lot more fruits and vegetables. So from what he was saying, he's kind of going straight into fruits and vegetables as breakfast, a heavy meal in the afternoon, and then fruits and vegetables for supper again. And he's saying that atones you, like nanado
Atones you.
atones you. My question is this: sometimes are the goals that we set for ourselves not sustainable? Because if I don't know, taxpayer, I don't know what his previous diet was like. But if you are the kind of person who starts your day off with pawpaw and bull fruits in traffic, then you get to work and you eat indomie. Then in the afternoon you go and eat fufu with meat pie for dessert. And then 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock, the kosua seller has come, so you do bread and egg. Then you go home and you eat jollof around 9, and then you drink Milo at midnight before you sleep.
Anyone, that's a powerful,
I don't know
powerful day. Beef, food, and cracker.
how you go from that to fruits and vegetables as breakfast, have something heavy for lunch, and then vegetables for supper.
You know, the thing is, what is your why? If you set a goal, what is the why? The why should be very clear for you. So if the why is not clear, it's easy to give up on your goal.
So it doesn't matter. Sustainability is not as important as the why.
No.
Okay.
The why is more powerful than sustainability.
Okay.
To sustain it is to start small and
Okay.
build on it.
Okay.
If you start big, you may not be able to sustain it. If you the scenario you gave, if you are someone who eats like this and then you are cutting yourself all the way down to this, you may not be able to. So you need to start small. Every habit, if you want to change a habit, you need to start small. You can't start in that, big margin and be able to keep it. You may get discouraged along the way.
Yeah.
And it will have to take about 21 days to be able to make
Form a habit.
to form a habit. Sorry.
It's okay.
To form a habit. So if you start big and the change is so much, you can lose the whole thing along the way if your discipline is not very strong. With scientifically, you can't do it like that. You need to start small, be committed to it, and prioritize and be consistent.
Okay, so let me ask you a question. You see, the problem with starting small is that a lot of us are motivated by improvements, by by seeing improvement.
Okay.
When you start small, the improvement is small. And when the improvement is small, then it's not motivation enough to continue because it's small.
So that's why the why, the purpose of why you are doing it should be the motivation. Because if the result is what will motivate you, some of the results will not come very easily or quickly. So if you are looking at results to continue, you may lose it. But the why did you want to do this? If the why is strong, you will be committed to it. And if you are committed and consistent, you will see results.
Okay.
So commitment is very powerful too. Be committed. No matter how small it is, if you are committed and you are consistent, you will see results.
How do you learn commitment? Because we talk about it a lot. Be committed, be committed, be committed. Me, I can convince myself of anything at any time. So I could be very committed to something in the morning. By the afternoon, I've made a very good argument to myself why
This commitment yourself.
decommitmentalize the commitments I made in the morning. I don't know if it's because I was never taught to be committed to something, or if it's a skill that I don't possess. But sometimes commitment seems abstract.
Commitment is part of discipline, and I would say commitment is being committed to yourself. Sometimes the reason why.
So, for example, wait, let me ask you a question. So, let's say in the morning you look at yourself and you're like, oh, I really want to lose weight, for example. And at the back of your mind, I'm committed to myself, my happiness, my well-being. So in the morning, you have like a salad and all of that. By the afternoon, you are hungry. You see, your commitment goals have changed. Because now, the commitment is to survive the day, and it is fufu that will take you through the day.
You see, this whole thing is not a one-day thing. It's a lot of mental work. It's a lot of mental work. And you need to find inspiration, inner inspiration. People can motivate you, but they can't be consistent in motivating you. Motivation is like being pulled to do something. Inner inspiration is being inspired by yourself to do something. They are two different things. Taking inspired action and taking motivated action are two different things. So this whole thing, like you're saying, in the morning, you got up, you are all spiked up on 1st of January to start this thing. You started, and then by 3rd of January, it's like this fufu and light soup is still on you. It's not easy.
With meat pie and fana.
You know, it's not easy, but you want to arrive somewhere. You are seeing a vision of an Animwaa you want to see.
Yeah, but life
That's
is
what
short.
I'm saying.
So what if you die in
commitment
2
is about
days?
you. Are you committed to yourself? You being committed to yourself is the whole thing. Committed to that Animwaa you want to see. And as much as life is short, you know that that Animwaa is the one that wants to enjoy this life that you want. So how much more can you hold off that fufu and light soup and just take more of what you know will help you to be inching towards that Animwaa you want to see in the next few months?
And this is not just about food. I mean, it's also about financial planning, for example.
Almost about everything.
Yeah. I mean, so another big area really is financial our financial well-being and financial discipline. You know, and setting realistic goals in terms of money. I was listening to Pastor Mensa Otabil last week Sunday, and he said that it's very rare that in the process of your life something big will happen and you suddenly become a millionaire. Most likely, you know, is little by little, kakra, you put it together, good management, and then, you know, you get to a place of some sort of financial stability, which is relative again. Because some people are financially stable on 500 CDs. Some people are financially stable on, you know what I mean? So how do you position yourself to create an atmosphere of financial wellness when you are at full capacity of your earning potential?
Okay. So when we talk about financial well-being, we are looking at how you are balancing what you have right now. How are you balancing it? How are you budgeting? Are you always in red, or are you able to balance yourself on what you have to feel more stable in your financial well-being? Because if you are not balancing and budgeting what you have so that you can go with it till another one is coming, then you are always stressed out, and that affects the other areas of your life. So learning how to plan your spending is something we are not taught. We were not taught to plan our even grocery shopping. We just go and we are taking. We just see this, we want it. We were not taught to plan out how we spend. So to improve on your financial well-being is to learn how to plan. Now, I coach people and I tell them, if you can plan that in 4 months, I'm going to go out with my family and do this, that. So I save from now till that 4 months. It lifts some stress off you that I can't do it. And so that planning gives you that feeling of hopefulness and excitement of aiming to do something. So you know that every month at the end of it, my salary is 5,000. I put 200 away every month so that by 4 months I have this amount. Me and my children, every 4 months we do this. That makes you know that you are living your life and planning towards the things you want to do. It takes some stress off you. But when there's no planning on your lifestyle and the things you want to spend on, it's like you're always anxious. When can I do this? And then we do things without planning and we are always in red.
Yes, but you see, there are also some things you can't plan for.
There are some things you can plan for, but there are a lot of things you can plan for. So some of them is also saving. How do we save? I mean, this year, my club, we are doing challenges. This year, we're already on a 3-tier challenge already this year to detox and exercise and sleep well to balance ourselves from all the toxic eating and all the things from last year. We're also starting a savings challenge. Everybody is getting their susu box. We are trying to encourage people to learn how to just save even 10 cedis a day. And then December 15th, we are all going to break our boxes. Now, putting yourself through that, start teaching you a financial mindset. You know, you are learning to be honest with yourself. You are learning to be committed to yourself to save 10 cedis a day. It gives you a shift of mindset, and money is about is energy. How we think about money is how we spend money.
Yeah.
And so when you shift your financial
Also,
mindset,
how we attract money.
yes, also how we attract money. I didn't want to use the word
It's fine.
attract.
Go ahead.
So when you shift your financial mindset, it also shifts how you spend your money. And so if you start knowing that I'm saving towards something, it changes how you spend money on things. Sometimes we are in car, we see things we buy, we haven't planned on buying, not because we need it. When we start becoming aware of the clutter in our homes, in our wardrobes, in our bedrooms, in our offices, everywhere, we realize we've spent money on things we don't really need in this immediate time. So when you start doing some small budgeting and planning, it shifts how you spend money. And that alone will start raising your financial mindset.
Yeah.
And to be financially independent, you need to change how you think about money.
So I heard somebody quite prominent. He's been in the news a lot in the past week. Grants an interview to a blogger, and he said that money is his girlfriend. And even when he's sucking her, she doesn't go.
You know, I just read a book. It said money should be your bitch, and now I've been saying that money is my bitch. You know, you should
right?
money should work for me. Money is my bitch. You know,
yeah.
if you're afraid of money, you know it's something else. But when you should know how to deal with money. It's a whole big, broad
It's
conversation.
a whole it's a whole
It's a whole
conversation.
on
The
its
energy
own.
and the aura of money,
of money and all that. We can't deal with that today.
No, we can't. But
Yeah.
but I'm taking.
But let's start from somewhere. And,
Yeah, you
and
could
it's
say money is
planning.
your boyfriend. Like money is my boyfriend.
Money is my bitch.
husband
Money
now.
is my bitch.
So yeah. So that's on financial planning. So
financial.
taxpayer came back to say to defend himself. Taxpayer, I was just using examples. Wasn't talking about you specifically.
Oh,
but
we don't know what
he
you
said
eat.
that he doesn't eat a lot. He only eats sometimes once a day, and then because he hasn't eaten anything, he's very hungry. Then he eats very heavy in the evening, and then it makes his stomach hurt. So, definitely not the best dynamics in terms of spreading out your calories for the day. So try to do the breakfast, lunch, supper thing.
Yeah.
Some people say 3 times. Some people say 5. Some people say there's so
You know,
much.
for me, it's not about abstaining necessarily. It's about moderation.
Moderation, yeah.
You know, wellness is not about abstaining from all the things you like. Anymore, I eat everything. I eat everything. I'm a foodie. I love food.
But in moderation.
But in moderation, you know.
Everybody's
conscious.
moderation is different, though,
Yeah,
bro.
but you should know how you are feeling. And for me, one of my goals this year is to practice my strong yoga morning and evening.
Okay.
You know, after 50, a lot of things change physically, and you need to do a lot of toning to get certain things. I mean, the way you want them to be.
Yeah.
And so, one of my goals is to invest in my yoga sessions every day on my own morning and evening. So, what is it for you? If you don't have any goal at this time of the year, I would say please just let something direct you. Let something pull you. Having a goal is like a direction. It gives you focus. It takes away distractions. It gives you inspiration. Something drives you. It
You
gives
need
some-
to have some sort of
yeah. So just look at all these 8 areas we've spoken about and pin down just one area you think is throwing you out of balance, and just make one small decision
to change.
that I will do this, or I will become this in this. I'll stop this, or I'll do this to improve this area, and that will give you some form of fulfillment that I'm doing something to arrive somewhere. But if you're just in it, just say
Then you are just-
in
yeah.
it. So let something pull you, something give you that focus that you are going to arrive somewhere. And the sky is the limit. I was at a program just before come and said everybody can get an aeroplane. The sky is big.
Yeah.
So
big enough for
improving
all of us.
ourselves is not an end to be achieved. That's the whole wellness thing.
Yeah.
You can't end it. You can always
Better.
expand and
Yeah.
become better. And so aim at something. Aim at something. Just as small as it can be. Let that be your focal points for 2024 that I'm arriving at somewhere.
Something. There's a saying there's a saying that says, if you don't know where you're going, any road will take you there.
Exactly.
Which sounds quite adventurous, but then again, I don't think you want to live your life not knowing
not
what the
knowing
next
where
step.
you are going.
Yeah, exactly. So anyway, so that's it for us for today. Thank you so much for listening in to Strong and Sassy. Ariel and I will be back Saturday morning, Home Affairs. We're talking about couple goals.
Yes.
So tune in Saturday morning, 6:15, and we'll be talking about different areas that you should focus on to make your relationship super strong for this year. A big thank you to the whole team, Mirabelle, Abigs, Crispy, supporting panelist Kofi Hayford, who's coming up next with the overdrive. And Abeku is trying to tell me. Oh, it's Iggy. It's not Kofi. Why did I think it was Kofi Hayford? It's Iggy who's coming up next after us. But coming up next is the news. My name's Animwaa Anim-Addo. I'll see you Saturday morning at 6:15, and then of course we're back here at 7 o'clock on Wednesday. Stay safe.